I'm Meshkalar. This is part of an ongoing series called Mything Persons, and I have dealt with the concept of the vampire being derived from the Watchers, the egregoroi, in Greek I think it is, those that watch, that are the fallen angels that lost the war in heaven. This is the narrative. I'm not claiming anything. Much of this is given in the Book of Enoch, which is not considered canon, but many people of the book accept it as canon, whether it is officially accepted or not. Its precepts and ideas are part and parcel of our mythological background. The idea of a war in heaven, the idea that the leader of the rebellion was an angel named Lucifer or Satan, and he was cast down, and now he lives in a separate dimension called hell, where they send everybody bad on earth. How many bad? How many people that broke a law somewhere? How many people ate meat prepared the wrong way? How many people ate the Hebrew national hot dogs that hadn't been blessed? Oh. There's a scandal there. Look it up. So, a lot of people in hell. Probably 99% of the human population will be in hell. 99.9%. So far as I know, there's only 144,000 elders of the Hebrew church, the Jewish church, that are in heaven as mortals, right? With the angels and all that. And I must say, from the description, I'm glad I'm down here. No offense to you guys. You know, I wear sunglasses, but, yeah. They sit around in a circle around God, and he glows like a star, and they like absorb the energy. So imagine how powerful they are. And imagine, get this, that when one of these fallen angels can't be around God anymore, he's not getting the, whatever it is that he needs, that special sustenance it requires to have angelic power. And so, he feeds on mortals. Well, how would that work? Why would mortal blood give him the power of angelhood? Would allow him to retain that power on some level or other, to be superior to the mortals around him, as vampires are supposed to be. Well, I have a mechanism for that. That's what I want to talk about today. They're angels. Angels have special properties that they gain from their construction, their method of being created, manifested, right? Either they are the living embodiment of the words of God gone into the world to do his bidding, or they are independent individual creatures that were part of a big quorum that were all flying around with God when he decided to make the universe. So, again, I'm not coming down in defense or an attack of any of the classic myths or narratives. I'm merely explaining the mainstream view. So, these angels that didn't go to hell with Satan, apparently there were quite a few of them, instead went to earth where they hid and they watched humans. They're called, in Greek, egregoroi, which means the watchers. Oh, yeah. So vampires, get this, these watchers, I should say, these watchers were forced for some reason to drink human blood. And as I said before, there's a mechanism for this. Why? When you are away from the holy presence, you start to pine away. You're no longer bathed in holy sunlight. You're like a plant that has to live with your leaves spread to the holy sun, right? You're not getting that special nutriment, whatever it is. And so, you just need to find it somewhere else. Well, where are you going to find it? Well, I guess you could eat other angels because they got some of it, right? If it's an intrinsic part of angelhood, perhaps it's in an angel's genetic material. And if he fuses that genetic material with a human, a suitable human host, then he can create a bloodline of semi-angelic mortals, each of which is capable of carrying that spark angelique, that vitae. And if that could take place, then the angel would seek those progeny out and stalk them and feed from them to maintain some level of that angelic power, that feel of superiority. Now that's the idea. Now I've given a mechanism for why they might drink blood, right? And then the story is, the real, going back to the Romanian myth, is that if a vampire abstains from drinking blood of mortals long enough, he will become mortal himself and be able to have a mortal life, grow old and die, and be gathered back into the fold, forgiven. See the mechanism. And that works. That works. It all works, because once you stop, drinking the blood of people that carry that spark of angelhood, you slowly degrade from your angelic status too, until you become but a mortal. And you'd think that would be a grace, instead of you just like choking to death, right? When you run out of angelic air or whatever. So that's a grace. It's a mercy. It's a version of God's mercy that can be looked at as a separate part of this classical narrative that comes to us out of Enoch. This is the way that I believe that your world, which is only my third world, I'm not as familiar with your world as I am with the other ones, but your world, I think, worked that way. That's why the Watchers became vampires, those that did, and the other ones faded back into the background, into the substrate of humanity, became mortals and died, and were gathered back in with the cloud of angels around God. So now that explains vampires. That explains the why of the vampire. That explains the whole concept of the Watchers and why they would not go with Satan to hell and live that depraved existence where they prick bad guys in the bum. And that's going to be boring, because that's 99.9% of all humanity. We've transgressed some law, right? We've done something stupid. We're Gentiles. We've been oppressive. We've been abusive. The sins of the father will be visited upon the sons. Some way's going to get us. So we're all going to be in hell. There's only going to be a few people in heaven. Like I said, the 144,000. And all kinds of churches are like, yes, and they'll be our people. No, the 144,000 were patriarchs of the Jewish church. Did you not read your memo? So, yeah, heaven's full of angels and a few Jews. It's not full of a bunch of Christians. There's nothing in the Christian cosmology that says that anything changed from the 144,000. We just claim that they're ours, but there's no evidence for that, because they were the patriarchs of the Hebrew church, the Jewish church, not the Christian church. So I think there's going to be a lot of people in hell. And if you can get used to that, okay. But just remember, if the angels that were still on the earth were forced to breed into humans and drink blood, what's it like down there in hell? I'm thinking it's a lower energy state. It's kind of depraved and tiresome and boring as hell, and the angels are just hoping they die. Somehow the quality of hell preserves their angelic nature, so that they can laugh at themselves day in and day out and know that they'll never go mad because they're angels. They can't. They'll have to face the truth every day, and they're not allowed to go mad. There's no escape. Hell isn't for mortals, friends. I mean, we're all going to be there, but hell is for angels. And that's only for angels if you buy into the Enochian narrative, which is that some angels had a war against heaven. I'm going to, just for a moment, weigh in on this. I'm a Gentile, and I don't know anything. But I'm going to weigh in on this. And I'm going to say that God, as the creator, represents 100% of the energy budget of this universe. Any creature within it is merely an inhabitant. Compared to God, it is like, these are the little silhouettes in the little kids' train set with the light inside the cars. You see the little silhouettes of humans in there? And it has to go around that circle and go around that circle forever until the kid turns it off. Those are mortals. And God is like the engineer. There's no having a war against the engineer. And so the idea of a war in heaven is pretty foolish. The idea that any of the employees of the creator of the universe could go against him and create some sort of a Gecko Cujo environment and topple him is inconceivable. Well, it's conceivable, obviously, but it seems to me to be rank Wednesday, even more so than, some of the wild beliefs that we hold otherwise. Now, if you want to know more about this stuff, doggone, read Scripture. And don't just read Scripture. Start reading the background of the Scripture and what scholarly people say about these Scriptures and what some things are supposed to mean, what other things really mean that we thought was metaphysical or that we thought was metaphorical. Turns out some of this is literal. I've talked about that elsewise, about the bones in the earth and Leviathan and Behemoth, Yeah, and the Nephilim. Yeah, all the truth is out there, folks. The problem is people on TV are trying to mislead us because they have a separate agenda. Remember that. Turn off your television. Talk to your kids. Let them teach you how to do their homework. Read a book.